Nature of Godhood by Sayyid Qutb from his book, Pillars of Islamic Perception. Translation by Muhammad Al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. There is nothing like unto him, and he is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. Quran 42:11. The first truth, the greatest truth, the foundational truth, and the active truth, the profound truth in the Islamic conceptions, the nature of Godhood. And in its absolute, eternal, and infinite nature, it is far beyond the grasp of the partial, limited, transient, and perishable human existence. Yet man is able to comprehend from it that which corrects his perception, straightens his thought, purifies his conscience, organizes his life, and enables him to understand the true nature of his position, the limits of his authority, and the requirements of his servitude to this divine reality. He is capable of grasping just enough of this infinite, eternal reality to have a proper conception of it, to maintain a straight course of thought, to keep his conscience sound, to regulate his life, to determine his direction, and to ensure the success of his endeavors and the acceptance of his actions. But this understanding is not one of cold, detached knowledge or theory. Rather, it is the understanding of faith-living, dynamic faith. It is only when this faith governs his character and behavior, his life and circumstances, his laws and statutes, his values and measures, his knowledge and culture, and all his activity in life, that man can become something meaningful in this world. Without it, he cannot be a force in existence either in the unseen realm nor in the visible world. He cannot play an active, positive role, nor can he fulfill the purpose of his human existence as willed by God, unless his senses, conscience, heart, mind, and entire being are filled with the nature of Godhood. It is only when he knows exactly his place in relation to this truth, the place of all other creatures in relation to it, and his position among his fellow servants of God, that he can succeed. For further understanding of the meaning of servitude and the concept of servants in the Islamic worldview, refer to the chapter Divinity and Servitude in the Four Terms of the Quran by Sayyid Abul Ala Maududi. The Muslim, by his human nature, is entrusted with the vicegerency of the earth under the covenant and conditions of God. By his Islamic nature, he is tasked with the creation of a new reality on earth, distinct from the reality of ignorance, Jahiliyyah, and with the realization of a new birth for humanity, one that is different from its birth within the framework of Jahiliyyah. This new reality must be based on God's covenant and law, governed by his guidance and legislation. It is a birth that frees man from the servitude of man, liberating him to walk alongside his fellow creatures in equality. On this path, he will encounter obstacles from the prevailing reality of Jahiliyyah, adversaries in his way, bitter sacrifices, painful suffering, and great hardships. If his senses, conscience, heart, mind, and entire being are not filled with the nature of Godhood, and if he does not possess a clear and certain understanding of what this relationship requires of him, he will not have the strength to struggle, persevere, and continue on the arduous path that leads to the creation of this new reality and the witnessing of the birth of the new man within himself and others. He is called upon to change the face of the world, to establish a new world where God's sovereignty alone prevails and where the power of tyrants is abolished. This new world will worship God alone, worship in its all-encompassing sense, and no one among the servants of God will be worshipped alongside him. It will be a world where people, by the will of God, are brought out from servitude to other men and into the servitude of God alone, as Rabbi Ibn Amir, the messenger of the Muslim commander, said to Rustam, the famous general of the Persians. He is called upon to confront falsehood, injustice, and corruption, to challenge established perceptions, societal structures, values, and laws, and to endure loneliness, alienation, and trials. He will not be able to face all this unless his entire being is filled with the nature of Godhood so that it outweighs everything else in his perception. He must be filled with the presence of God, his existence encompassing his senses, conscience, heart, mind, and entire being, as well as his entire life. The Quranic method fills the human consciousness with the nature of Godhood, encompassing the entire soul with this truth. It speaks of God's essence glorified and exalted be He, His attributes, and the manifestations of His power and creativity. These truths are deeply imprinted in the human conscience. The reality of the Creator of all things, the owner of all things, the one who encompasses all things, and the one who governs all things. Refer to the meaning of the term taghut, false deity, in the interpretation of Imam Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, mentioned in the chapter Divinity and Servitude. The Quran overwhelms the human consciousness with the reality of God's influence on everything, filling the human emotions, senses, conscience and mind with this truth, its attributes, its power and might, its mercy and care, its majesty and awe, its intimacy and nearness, its encompassing presence over the universe and humankind in every situation and at all times. The human soul feels, as is the case in reality, that there is no refuge from God but to Him, that there is no escape from Him, and that there is no helper or support other than Him. There exists nothing in this universe that stands by itself except for God's essence, which sustains all creation. This is the overwhelming living feeling that emerges from reading the Quran, the sense of God's existence and presence, a presence that is not rivaled by the existence of any other created beings. It is a presence that the human being never escapes, whether by day or night, in any situation or condition. The Quranic method of introducing the nature of Godhood is unique. It strikes all the chords of the human soul, entering through all its gateways. It touches upon the chords of fear and hope, caution and reassurance, awe and majesty, intimacy and love, might and power, compassion and mercy, punishment and reward. It emphasizes the complete distinction between divinity and servitude, while also expressing the intimacy and closeness between God and His servants. It addresses the human consciousness with the signs in the universe and within the self, as well as with the mysteries of the unseen and the decrees of God beyond the veils of perception. As the Quran strikes all these chords, it also plays various harmonies on a single chord, displaying a single scene or aspect from different perspectives, in different lights, and from various angles. In this way, it ensures that the entirety of the human being is addressed by this great truth in a manner that is unique, testifying by itself that this method is from God and that none but Him could produce its like. One who deeply reflects upon the Quran becomes aware that this is its central theme, its ultimate goal. Every verse, every directive, and every teaching is, in reality, a facet of the introduction to God, revealing to people the truth of His essence and attributes, insofar as they are capable of comprehending and bearing it. The Quranic method is deeply concerned with revealing the nature of Godhood in its essence, though it does so only on a few occasions. More often, it presents this reality through the manifestations of God's power in the universe and in the realms of servitude. The universe and all living beings are thus displayed as evidence of this power, an open book in which its overwhelming signs are read. Through the universe, life and humanity, the nature of Godhood is revealed in the unique manifestations of creation. The instances where the Quran presents abstract philosophical exposition are noticeably few compared to the many instances where the Creator, glorified and exalted, be He reveals Himself through His magnificent craftsmanship. This is a prominent feature of the Quranic method, which sets it far apart from the philosophical abstractions that have coloured the so-called Islamic philosophy, and from the logical debates that have dominated kalam, theological discourse. These approaches are entirely distant from the Quranic method of revealing this great truth. The Quran conveys the nature of Godhood to people through its active manifestations in the universe and in life, in the decrees that govern the servants of God. Through these manifestations in the human soul and in the horizons, the human consciousness is filled with reverence, love, fear, piety, hope, trust, intimacy and nearness to God. It is filled with caution and vigilance, with a constant awareness of God's existence and presence, such that the believing heart cannot forget or neglect this presence for even a moment in any situation or condition. The testimony that there is no God but God requires that the sense of God's existence and oneness reach the level of certainty akin to seeing and witnessing. It is a vision and a witnessing of this truth through its manifestations in the hidden depths of the self and in the open pages of the universe, clear vision and an assured witnessing upon which this testimony is based. The Quran, with its unique method, revives this innate truth within human nature until the human heart sees it with certainty, bears witness to it, and bases its testimony upon it. The Quranic method has reached an unparalleled degree of effectiveness in this regard, creating a group of believers who feel the nature of Godhood with the kind of certainty that arises from witnessing. They live with this truth, seeing it wherever they are and feeling it wherever they turn, with an astonishing sensitivity. As I reviewed the life of the first Muslim community, I often stood in awe of their sense of God's presence in their hearts and lives. I could hardly comprehend how this came to be. How did the nature of Godhood become so present in their hearts and lives? How did their hearts and lives become so filled with this truth? How did this truth take possession of their paths, their directions, their horizons, confronting them wherever they turned and accompanying them wherever they were? I understood the nature of this truth's presence in their hearts and lives, but I could not grasp how it had come to be until I returned to the Quran, reading it in light of its central theme, the revelation of the nature of Godhood and the call for humanity to worship God alone after coming to know him. Only then did I understand how all this happened. I understood, but I do not claim to have comprehended fully the secret of this craftsmanship. I came to know where that unique generation of believers was made and how they were made. They were made right here, through this Quran, with the method revealed within it, with this truth that is manifest in this method. This truth encompasses everything, fills everything, issues forth from everything, is connected to everything, and molds everything. This truth was present in the hearts and lives of people in a way that it had never been before. It was present with all its components, all its inspirations, and all its effects. It was alive, active, powerful, and all-encompassing, interacting with people just as it interacts with the entirety of existence, and people interacted with it just as they interact with the entirety of existence. God is the first and the last. God is the outward and the inward. God is the creator and sustainer. God is the controller and the planner. God is the exalter and the abaser. God is the giver of honor and the giver of humiliation. God is the withholder and the giver of abundance. God is the giver of life and the bringer of death. God is the beneficent and the harmful. God is the avenger and the all-compassionate. God is the most high and the most great. God is the near and the responsive. God is the one who comes between a person and his heart. God is the one who answers the distressed when they call upon him and removes harm. God knows what is in the breasts, and he is with people wherever they are, and with him are the keys to the unseen. None knows them but he. He is the one who sends down rain after people have despaired, spreading his mercy. He is the one who merges night into day and day into night, who brings the living out of the dead and the dead out of the living. There is no refuge from God except to him, and there is no protector besides him. All will come to him on the day of resurrection alone. Thus this truth fills people's lives, confronting them at every turn, appearing before them from every direction, taking hold of their souls from all sides, living with them, accompanying them by night and by day, in the morning and in the evening, when they cover themselves with their garments, when their innermost thoughts stir within them, and even when they hide from others or from their very selves. Through all of this, another truth emerged on this earth in the world of humankind, the truth of divine sustainership, Rububiyyah. It became manifest in a group of human beings, the new godly people, Rabbaniyun, who were connected to God, living by and for God, with nothing in their hearts or lives but God. Their hearts were emptied of any desire for themselves. Their only desire was for God and for God alone. The truth of divine sustainership was thus found in people, and the truth of divinity was found in the world of humankind. It appeared with such strength, clarity, depth, and comprehensiveness that it overshadowed all other existences, exposed all other influences, and returned all matters to their true nature, to God. When this truth of divine sustainership appeared in the world of humankind, and when the godly people, Rabbaniyun, emerged, who were the living embodiment of this truth, the earthly barriers, the established conventions, and the familiar norms dissolved. This truth walked upon the earth, free from all barriers, free from all conventions, free from all norms, and God accomplished what he willed in the earth and in the lives of people through that small group of servants who embodied this great truth. There is no greater reality than this truth, except for that which is connected to it and derives from it, and only that which is connected to it has any significant existence in this world. The barriers that people were accustomed to seeing as obstacles to human effort were abolished, and the familiar norms by which people measured events and things were invalidated. The established conventions that people had governed their affairs and events with were nullified, and this new value, this one true value, became firmly established in the realm of reality. A new Islamic reality was established, and with it a new, true human being was born. No words can express the truth of divinity, nor can they illuminate this truth in the conscience, as the Quran does, with its unique divine method and its radiant, wondrous style. What we attempt in this study by highlighting the characteristics and components of the Islamic worldview through selected Quranic texts, extracted from the living context of the Quran, cannot come close to what the Quran itself achieves with its unmatched method. But we persist in this endeavour, as we have mentioned many times before, because of the necessity faced by this generation, which has become distant both in its research and its taste, in its emotions and its perceptions, and in its reality and the circumstances of its life from this source from which no other source can suffice. Therefore, before we delve into the details of the many aspects of this great truth, we prefer to present examples of the Quran's unique style in introducing people to the nature of Godhood and in filling their entire being with God's presence, as well as their lives with the presence of divinity. Once again, we urge the reader to proceed slowly while following the Quranic context, to try to savor it, and to build a new familiarity with this source from which no other source can suffice. Even those who have memorized the Quran before should know that they are in need of this new companionship with the Quran. To hear God glorified and exalted, be he speak to them in a way that none of his servants can speak. All praise is due to God who created the heavens and the earth and made darkness and light, yet those who disbelieve equate others with their sustainer. He is the one who created you from clay and then decreed a term, and a specified term is with him, yet you doubt. He is God in the heavens and the earth. He knows what you conceal and what you reveal, and he knows what you earn. No sign of their sustainer comes to them, but they turn away from it. They denied the truth when it came to them, but soon will come to them the news of what they used to ridicule. Have they not seen how many generations we destroyed before them? We had established them on the earth as we have not established you. We sent the sky upon them in showers and made rivers flow beneath them, but we destroyed them for their sins and raised other generations after them. Even if we had sent down to you a book inscribed on parchment, which they could touch with their hands, those who disbelieve would have said, "This is nothing but clear magic." And they say, "Why has an angel not been sent down to him?" Had we sent down an angel, the matter would have been decided, and they would not have been given respite. Al-An'am 1:8. Had we made him an angel, we would have made him appear as a man, and we would have confused them in the same way they are now confused. Indeed, messengers before you were ridiculed, but those who mocked them were engulfed by what they used to ridicule. Say, travel through the earth and observe how the end of the deniers was. Say, to whom belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth? Say, to God. He has decreed mercy upon himself. He will surely gather you together on the day of resurrection, about which there is no doubt. Those who have lost themselves will not believe. To him belongs whatever dwells in the night and the day, and he is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Say, shall I take a protector other than God? the originator of the heavens and the earth, who feeds and is not fed. Say, indeed, I have been commanded to be the first to submit, and not to be of those who associate others with him. Say, indeed, I fear if I should disobey my sustainer, the punishment of a tremendous day. Whoever is averted from it on that day, he has certainly shown him mercy, and that is the clear triumph. And if God should touch you with harm, none can remove it but him, and if he touches you with good, he is over all things competent, and he is the subjugator over his servants, and he is the wise, the acquainted. Al-An'am 8:18. Say, what is the greatest testimony? Say, God is witness between me and you, and this Quran has been revealed to me so that I may warn you thereby and whomever it reaches. Do you truly bear witness that there are other deities besides God? Say, I do not bear witness. Say, he is but one God, and indeed I am innocent of whatever you associate with him. Al-An'am 6:19. Say, indeed I have been forbidden to worship those whom you invoke besides God. Say, I will not follow your desires, for then I would have gone astray, and I would not be among those rightly guided. Say, I'm upon clear evidence from my sustainer, but you have denied it. I do not have what you are hastening for. Judgment belongs only to God. He relates the truth, and he is the best of judges. Say, if I had what you are hastening for, the matter between us would have been settled, but God knows best the wrongdoers. And with him are the keys to the unseen, none knows them except he. He knows what is in the land and the sea. Not a leaf falls, but he knows it, nor a grain in the darkness of the earth, nor anything moist or dry, but that it is in a clear record. And he is the one who takes your souls by night, and knows what you have done by day. Then he resurrects you therein, so that the appointed term may be fulfilled. Then to him is your return, and he will inform you of what you used to do. And he is the dominant one over his servants, and he sends over you guardians until when death comes to one of you, our messengers take him away, and they do not neglect their duty. Then they are returned to God, their rightful master. Unquestionably his is the judgment, and he is the swiftest of reckoners. Say, who saves you from the darkness of the land and the sea when you call upon him humbly and in secret? If he should save us from this, we will surely be among the grateful. Say, God saves you from it and from every distress, yet you still associate others with him. Al-An'am 6:63, 64. He is capable of sending upon you a punishment from above you or from beneath your feet, or to confuse you into factions and make you experience the violence of one another. See how we diversify the signs so that they may understand. Al-An'am 6:65. Indeed, it is God who causes the seed and the date stone to split and sprout. He brings forth the living from the dead, and brings forth the dead from the living. Such is God. So how are you deluded? He is the cleaver of the daybreak, and has made the night for rest, and the sun and the moon for reckoning. This is the design of the Almighty, the All-Knowing, and it is He who has made for you the stars, so that you may find your way thereby in the darkness of the land and sea. We have indeed made clear the signs for a people who know, and it is He who has brought you forth from a single soul, and set for you a dwelling place and a repository. We have indeed made clear the signs for a people who understand, and it is He who sends down water from the sky, and we bring forth thereby the growth of all things. From it we bring forth greenery, from which we produce grains in clusters, and from the date palm, from its spathe come clusters hanging low, and we bring forth gardens of grapes, and the olive and the pomegranate similar and dissimilar. Look at its fruit when it bears fruit, and at its ripening. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who believe, yet they ascribe to God partners the jinn, although He created them, and they falsely attribute to Him sons and daughters without knowledge. Glory be to Him! Exalted is He above what they describe. The originator of the heavens and the earth, how could he have a child when he has no consort? He created everything, and he is the knower of all things. That is God, your sustainer. There is no deity except him, the creator of all things, so worship him. For he is the disposer of all affairs. Vision perceives him not, but he perceives all vision. And he is the subtle, the all-aware. Al-An'am 6:90. 103. God knows what every female bears, and what the wombs decrease and increase, and everything with him is according to measure. He is the knower of the unseen and the witnessed, the grand, the exalted. It is all the same, whether one of you conceals his speech or declares it openly, or whether one hides by night or goes forth openly by day. He has appointed angels to watch over you, in front of you and behind you. They guard you by God's command. Indeed, God does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. And when God intends harm for a people, there is no turning it back, and they have no protector besides him. Arad 13, 8, 11. It is he who shows you the lightning, inspiring fear and hope, and he brings up the heavy clouds. The thunder glorifies his praise, and so do the angels in awe of him. And he sends thunderbolts, striking with them whomever he wills, yet they dispute about God while he is mighty in power. To him alone is the true call, and those whom they call upon besides him do not respond to them at all, except as one who stretches out his hands towards water, calling it to reach his mouth, but it does not reach him. And the prayer of the disbelievers is nothing but in vain. To God submits whoever is in the heavens and the earth, willingly or unwillingly, and so do their shadows in the mornings and the evenings. Say, who is the sustainer of the heavens and the earth? Say, God. Say, have you then taken besides him protectors who have no power over benefit or harm to themselves? Say, is the blind equal to the seeing? Or is darkness equal to light? Or have they attributed to God partners who created the like of his creation, so that the creation seemed similar to them? Say, God is the creator of all things, and he is the one, the overpowering. Arad 13:13, 19. Whatever is in the heavens and the earth glorifies God, and he is the Almighty, the wise. To him belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He gives life and causes death, and he has power over all things. He is the first and the last, the apparent and the hidden, and he is, of all things, knowing. It is he who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Then he established himself above the throne. He knows what penetrates into the earth and what emerges from it, and what descends from the sky and what ascends therein. And he is with you wherever you are, and God is seeing of what you do. Al-Hadid 57, 1, 4. Indeed, in these examples is reflected broadly the existence of God, his presence, his power, and the effects of his power in the vastness of the cosmos and the depths of the soul and in the events of life. The sovereignty of God manifests itself throughout all existence, unique in this world and in the hereafter. The human heart feels that God is with it, watching over it, seeing it, knowing its secrets and its open declarations, and it moves with the signs of his power and the mysteries of creation and governance across the horizons of the heavens and the earth, and within the spans of time and life. I hesitated, as I present these radiant, dazzling examples, to touch them with my human commentary or explanation, or to separate each one with some form of interpretation that might not reach their horizons. I was keen to live, and for the reader to live with me these luminous moments in these bright expanses without dimming their brilliance with the intrusion of my own perishable style. Whether the reader has followed this radiant, inspired flow, and this precise, deep discourse in the definition of divinity, it may be beneficial for him to recite these examples again before we proceed further into the detailed steps of the Quranic method in elucidating this truth. And now let us take the first step in defining the nature of Godhood in the Quranic method. The introduction to God in this method begins with the rejection of all that human thought has imagined or could imagine about the essence of God, his attributes and his actions, and the manner in which his will relates to events. The God of Islam is not a creation of human minds, as the materialists, Darwinists, and certain scholars of comparative religion, sociology, psychology, and philosophy claim. He is not a product of social, political, or economic conditions, nor is he a creation of human imaginations or delusions stemming from their psychological makeup or from their primitive jahiliyyah and inability to confront or explain the natural phenomena of the universe. All such circumstances may indeed give rise to false gods in various forms of jahiliyyah, among them the educated jahiliyyah practiced by modern civilizations, as Will Durant describes the reality. but they have not produced the God of the true Islamic creed. Any attempt to conflate the primitive pagan religions born from the deviation from the message that God sent to all the messengers with the Islamic creed is a deliberate misrepresentation. The knowledge of God in the Islamic conception begins by rejecting all the images that originate from human perceptions and imaginations about God. It must be drawn directly from the way God has introduced himself to his servants, his attributes, his actions, and the manner of his actions. This knowledge is taken from this source alone and not from any other. For humans have nothing to compare with God, nothing from which they can know him by analogy, or measure his actions by their actions, or compare the manner of his actions with theirs. Human thought relies on what it knows, and when it does not take from the divine source alone in this critical matter, it becomes entangled in images and analogies from the things and situations it knows. But God exalted he is like nothing in his creation, and no matter how much human imagination strives, it cannot find anything resembling him, whether in form or in state. There is nothing like unto him. Shura 42:11. To God belongs the highest example. Anal 16:60. So do not attribute comparisons to God. Anal 16:74. And to God belong the most beautiful names, so call upon him by them, and leave those who deviate concerning his names. Al-Araf 7:180. When these decisive texts are applied, all the concepts brought forth by paganism, philosophy, including what is termed Islamic philosophy and theology, or those contrived by certain atheists or others in the name of science, which is not concerned with matters of belief at all, fall away. Any attempt that does not derive directly and adhere completely to God's own definition of himself from the one true source is nothing but conjecture, error, and falsehood against God. It would be possible to go on at length, presenting examples of these paganisms and philosophies and theologies from various ages, to demonstrate the extent of their falsehood, confusion, and contradiction. Indeed, I have already done so in a rough draft of this chapter, but in the end, I chose to dispense with that review altogether, preferring instead to set aside that entire heap and to present only this great truth as it is presented solely in the Quranic method, drawn from the divine source alone. For this source is the only one that should be consulted on this great truth. In the first part of this study, dealing with the characteristics of the Islamic conception, there are references and excerpts on examples of the heap of accumulated doctrines, concepts, and philosophies. Beyond this heap lies only more of the same, across the ages and in the various forms of Jahiliyyah and philosophical conceptions sold, and new of which none are exempt from bleakness, confusion, and contradiction. As for science, this is not its domain at all. Those who use it as a shield and speak in its name regarding this matter are committing a falsehood against God and against science, dragging it into a field that is beyond its scope, as they themselves admit in some instances. The knowledge of God begins with leaving behind those dismal, stagnant fortresses of philosophy, with their many paths and turns, and entering the radiant, fragrant garden, open to sight and insight, clear to heart and mind, addressing the whole human being in a simple, profound, and precise way, as divine matters demand. This garden is free from the residues of pagan myths and legends, and even the myth of science for science, when it tries to enter the realm of faith, becomes just another myth. Its only field is this material universe and the laws that govern it. It cannot, by its very nature and tools, surpass this universe and its laws to reach the God who created it and placed these laws within it. This lies entirely beyond its power and scope. The Quranic method in defining the nature of Godhood makes the universe and life a magnificent exhibition in which this truth shines through. It manifests itself in its active signs, filling the human consciousness with its presence and reality. This method does not make the existence of God a matter of debate. The reality of existence fills the human heart through the Quranic vision and real-world observation alike, so that there is no room left for debate about it. The Quranic method immediately turns to speaking about the effects of this existence in the entire universe, and about its implications for the human conscience and human life. This method, in adopting this approach, relies on a fundamental truth about human nature, for God is the creator, and he knows best what he has created. Indeed, we created man, and we know what his soul whispers to him. Kaf 50:16. The human nature, as we have discussed in a previous section, has an inherent need for religion and belief in a deity. When it is healthy and upright, it feels a natural inclination toward a single deity and a strong sense of the existence of this one God. The function of a true creed is not to create this need for a deity or the inclination towards him, for this is embedded in the human nature. Rather, its function is to correct human understanding of God, to define for him the true God, with no deity besides him, to define his reality and attributes, not his existence, which is already felt. Then, to define for him the implications of God's existence in his life. Doubt in this reality of existence, or its denial, is itself a clear sign of profound dysfunction in human nature, and of the disruption of its innate receptors and responses. This disruption cannot be treated with argumentation. This is not the way. This universe, as we will see in the chapter on the truth of the universe, in details a believing, submitting cosmos, knowing its creator, submitting to him, and glorifying his praise. Everything in it and every living being, except for some humans, lives in this cosmos, whose corners echo with the sounds of faith and submission, with the sounds of glorification and prostration. The very components and cells of human beings take part in these echoes and submit in their movement to the laws God has decreed. The human being who does not feel these echoes in his nature, who does not sense the rhythm of the divine laws in his very being, who does not pick up these universal waves and the harmonious rhythms between the cosmos and human nature, is, as we said before, a deformed creature, a being whose innate receptors and responses are disabled. Therefore, there's no way to reach his heart and mind through argumentation. The only way to treat him is by attempting to awaken the dormant receptors within him, to stir the latent elements of his nature, so that they may begin to function once again. The Quran beautifully and vividly portrays the disruption of these innate receptors and responses, the death of the hearts that are their vessels in such beings. It does so in a manner both truthful and evocative, in verses such as, "And we have certainly created for hell many of the jinn and mankind. They have hearts with which they do not understand. They have eyes with which they do not see. They have ears with which they do not hear. They are like cattle, no. They are even more astray. It is they who are the heedless." Al-Araf 7:179. Have they not travelled through the land, so that they may have hearts with which to reason, or ears with which to hear? For indeed it is not the eyes that are blinded, but blinded are the hearts within the chests. Al-Hajj 22:46. Not equal are the blind and the seeing, nor the darkness and the light, nor the shade and the scorching heat, and not equal are the living and the dead. Indeed, God causes to hear whomever he wills, but you cannot make those in the graves hear. You are only a warner. Fatir 35:19-23. Indeed, you cannot make the dead hear, nor can you make the deaf hear the call when they turn their backs in retreat, and you cannot guide the blind out of their error. You can only make hear those who believe in our signs, for they have submitted. Ar-Rum 30:52-53. That is because they believed, then they disbelieved, so a seal was set upon their hearts, and they do not understand. And when you see them, their forms please you, and if they speak, you listen to their speech. They are like pieces of wood propped up. Al-Munafiqun 63:3-4. Thus, the Quranic method begins its treatment of this dysfunctional, disabled, paralyzed nature by awakening it, calling forth its dormant vitality and stirring its latent powers to open its eyes and see, to listen and respond, in the hope that it may return to its natural functions. If life stirs within it for even a moment, the hidden elements of nature will reawaken, the receptors will begin to function again, and it will connect with the divine existence, whose signs are manifest in the cosmic existence, wherever human nature alive and alert encounters the universe. The Quranic method follows various paths to shake and revive these natures, but we cannot explore them all here. Instead, let us be content with one example, which is directing this nature to the realms of the universe and life, to their scenes and their indications. It calls out to these heedless souls, how can you disbelieve in God when you were lifeless, and He gave you life? Then He will cause you to die. Then He will bring you back to life, and then to Him you will be returned. It is He who created for you all that is on the earth. Then He turned to the heaven and made them 7 heavens, and He is knowing of all things. Al-Baqarah 228:29. Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and day, and the ships that sail through the sea with that which benefits people, and what God sends down from the sky of water, giving life thereby to the earth after its death, and dispersing therein every kind of moving creature, and in His directing of the winds and the clouds controlled between the heaven and the earth are signs for a people who use reason. Al-Baqarah 2, 164. And a sign for them is the dead earth. We give it life and bring forth from it grain from which they eat. And we have placed therein gardens of date palms and vines, and caused springs to gush forth therein, so that they may eat of its fruit. It was not their hands that made it. Will they not then give thanks? Limitless in His glory is He who has created all the pairs, of what the earth brings forth, and of themselves, and of that which they do not know. And a sign for them is the night. We strip it of daylight, and behold, they are in darkness. And the sun runs its course to a place appointed for it. That is the ordaining of the Almighty, the All-Knowing. And for the moon we have appointed phases until it returns like the old date stalk, shriveled and curved. Neither is it for the sun to overtake the moon, nor does the night outstrip the day. Each floats along in its own orbit. Surah Yasin 36, 33, 40. Have they not looked at the sky above them, how we have built it and adorned it with no rifts in its structure? And the earth we have spread it out, and set upon it firm mountains, and caused to grow therein every kind of beautiful plant, as an insight and a reminder to every servant who turns to God. And we send down from the sky blessed water, with which we cause gardens and fields of grain to sprout forth, and lofty date palms laden with clustered fruit, as sustenance for human beings. And by it we give life to a dead land. Thus will be the resurrection. Surah Kahf 56:11. Have they not seen the birds, held poised in mid-air, with none holding them up but God? Indeed, in that are signs for people who believe. Surah An-Nahl 1679. For an in-depth examination of this topic, refer to the first volume of the Islamic Education Methodology by Sayyid Qutb. Verily, God alone holds the heavens and the earth, lest they should fall apart. And if they were to fall apart, none could hold them back except Him. Surah Fatir 35:41. Let man, then, consider his food. We pour forth water in abundance, then we split the earth asunder and cause grain to grow therein, and vines and edible plants and olive trees and date palms and gardens dense with foliage and fruits and fodder, as sustenance for you and your cattle. Surah Abasa 80:24-32. Let man consider what he was created from. He was created from a spurting fluid, which issues from between the loins and the ribs. Verily, He is well able to bring him back to life, on the day when all secrets will be laid bare. Then man will have no strength, nor any helper. Surah At-Tariq 86:5-10. Although these verses and many others in their respective Quranic contexts were not originally revealed to prove God's existence, they are meant to introduce the true God, His attributes and His signs in the universe and in life. These verses stir the human heart to recognize the one true God and to worship Him alone without associating any partners with Him. Yet, in themselves, these verses inherently challenge any denial of God's existence, in the unique way that the Islamic worldview does not in any other way. They address every distortion of human nature and every malfunction or paralysis of the faculties of perception and understanding. These verses confront denial by pointing to the signs of God's existence in the creation of this universe, in the harmonious order of the planets and phenomena, all governed by a single divine law. The verses also point to the precise design of the universe, which makes it impossible for such a vast number of intricate correspondences to have arisen by chance. These correspondences allow for the emergence of life in various parts of the universe at all levels. Furthermore, these verses allude to the actual emergence of life with its inherent abilities for survival, renewal, and reproduction. The first, second, third, fifth, and seventh sets of verses, as well as the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and seventh sets of verses, reveal the pairing of creatures and their reproduction. Additionally, they highlight the correspondences between the plant and animal kingdoms, which enable each to sustain the other, and both to sustain life at all levels. The verses go beyond affirming merely God's existence and his positive impact on the universe and life. They also imply the necessity of resurrection and the return to life after death. These verses engage the human consciousness by presenting scenes and signs that offer compelling proofs to the human mind through their powerful and realistic logic. Yet these verses do not employ the abstract intellectual debate of philosophy. Rather, they stir the innate nature, fitra, prompting it to perceive, to receive, and to respond. For without awakening the fitra and stimulating it to act, intellectual proofs remain ineffective, as do even sensory proofs. The Quran vividly portrays certain human types whose fitra is paralyzed, whose conscience is clouded. And even if we had sent down to you a book on paper, and they had touched it with their own hands, those who disbelieve would have said, "This is nothing but obvious magic." Surah Al-An'am 6:7. And even if we opened for them a gate to heaven and they kept ascending through it, they would still say, "Our eyes have been dazzled, rather we have been bewitched." Surah Al-Hijr 15:14-15. This is the essential difference between the Quranic approach to addressing the entirety of the human being by awakening and stirring its dormant faculties, and the approach of philosophy, theology, and scholasticism, which engages only the intellect with abstract concepts or cold logic, never reaching the heart and mind with the same living, persuasive power. The Quranic method addresses the whole of the human being, as seen in the examples of the verses we have presented, along with many others. It uses the evidence of creation, coordination, and purpose. There is no doubt that the very existence of this universe, with its design and correspondences, and the existence of life, with its structure and guarantees, confront the human being with an overwhelming flow of signs and rhythms that convey a clear message. The human being, after all, is but a fragment of this cosmic existence, and cannot shut out the rhythms of the universe without losing the ability to perceive them. The Quran also raises profound questions that no human theory or philosophy can adequately answer, questions about the existence of an omnipotent, willing and choosing creator, who does as he wills, who is all-knowing, wise and in control. Were they created out of nothing, or were they themselves the creators, or did they create the heavens and the earth? No, they are uncertain in their belief. Surah At-Tur 52:35-36. Indeed, one is astonished when reviewing the various attempts by materialists, evolutionists and others to explain the universe and life, or their origins and development, without reference to God. These attempts are bewildering, clumsy, and fall short of presenting any convincing proof or undeniable evidence. One would be reminded of the tragedy of the European Church's conflict with science and the people's desire to banish the Church's God at any cost, even if the evidence was lacking or forced. Their flight from God is the result of the oppressive dominance of the Church in the name of God. Thus they flee from every path, only to find God there, and they run away again, terrified. Poor souls. We hope to elaborate further in subsequent chapters on the nature of the universe, life, and human existence, and how these realities testify to the truth of God's existence and attributes, while exposing the falsehood of those interpretations that deliberately stray from the truth that the human nature, fitra, inherently recognizes when faced with the wonders of creation and the signs of divine power. These explanations attempt to account for the existence of the universe and life without reference to God. For more on this, refer to the chapter on the miserable schism in the book The Future of This Religion. But for now, let us proceed with a deeper examination of the Quranic methodology in explaining the reality of God. The Quranic method of introducing the truth of God makes the entire universe an open exhibition where this truth is revealed. It manifests itself in the creative will that brings forth both the cosmos and life. This will testify to God's oneness, power, knowledge, wisdom, and control over all things. It manifests itself as well in the events of human life, especially in the creation of man, in the blessings bestowed upon him, and in the rise and fall of nations. It also manifests itself in the constant presence of God's knowledge and power over human affairs, as well as in the ongoing conflict between truth and falsehood throughout the ages. Just as this truth is evident in the creative wonders of the universe, it is equally clear in life and history, in the experiences of human beings as they encounter God's laws and move in accordance with his will in this worldly life. Similarly, it will be manifest on the day of judgment, when God alone will have dominion and authority, and when those who were deluded and misled, the arrogant and the oppressed, will finally recognize the truth that was always before them. Moreover, the Quranic method of teaching the truth of God presents this truth in the hearts of God's chosen servants, the angels, the prophets, the saints, the martyrs, and the righteous. In them, this truth shines in its purest, most genuine and profound form. Yet, the Quranic method does not separate these various fields of manifestation from one another. A single Quranic passage may encompass all these fields or many of them, so that this truth is displayed in its most perfect and beautiful form. The difficulty lies in our human attempt to separate these fields from one another and to present the truth in each field individually, in order to highlight each one in isolation. The examples we have discussed at the beginning of this chapter and the chapter on the foundations of Islamic thought provide an accurate portrayal of the Quranic method, distinguishing it from the human approach to presenting this profound truth. Let us take one example from these verses and review it again to see how it encompasses all the aspects we have mentioned. 1. All praise is due to God, who created the heavens and the earth and who made darkness and light. Yet those who disbelieve set up equals to their sustainer. 2. He it is who created you out of clay and then decreed a term for you known only to him. Yet still you doubt. 3. And he is God, in the heavens and on earth, who knows your secret thoughts and your open words, and knows what you earn. Surah Al-An'am 6, 1, 3. And no sign comes to them from their sustainer, but that they turn away from it. Indeed, they denied the truth when it came to them, but soon they will receive news of what they used to mock. Have they not seen how many generations we destroyed before them, whom we had established in the land more firmly than we have established you? We sent down upon them rain from the sky in abundance, and caused rivers to flow beneath them. But we destroyed them for their sins, and raised up after them another generation. Even if we had sent down a book to you on parchment, and they had touched it with their own hands, those who disbelieve would still say, "This is nothing but obvious magic." They say, "Why has not an angel been sent down upon him?" But had we sent down an angel, the matter would have been decided, and they would have had no respite. And if we had made him an angel, we would have made him appear as a man, and thus confused them just as they confused themselves. Indeed, messengers before you were mocked, but those who ridiculed them were overtaken by that which they used to ridicule. Say, travel through the earth and observe how the end was for those who denied the truth. Say, to whom belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth? Say, to God, he has written upon himself mercy. He will surely gather you together on the day of resurrection, about which there is no doubt. But those who have lost themselves, they do not believe. And to him belongs whatever dwells in the night and the day, and he is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Say, shall I take a protector other than God, the originator of the heavens and the earth, who feeds and is not fed? Say, I have been commanded to be the first to submit to him, and not to be among those who associate others with him. Say, indeed I fear, if I were to disobey my sustainer, the punishment of a tremendous day. Whoever is averted from it on that day, he has certainly bestowed mercy upon him, and that is the clear triumph. And if God touches you with harm, none can remove it but him, And if he touches you with good, he is over all things competent. He is the supreme over his servants, and he is the all-wise, the all-aware. Say, what is the greatest testimony? Say, God is witness between me and you, and this Quran has been revealed to me that I may warn you and whomever it reaches. Do you truly testify that there are other gods besides God? Say, I do not testify. Say, indeed he is but one God, and I am free of what you associate with him. Thus, this is a single passage, just a small portion of a complete surah, all of which is devoted to illuminating the truth of God's oneness. This passage, like the rest of the surah, presents the manifestations of the divine truth in various realms. 1. The first verse shows it manifest in the creation of the heavens and the earth, after an opening declaration of praise to God for his wondrous signs and creations, to which the rest of the passage alludes. It also points to the cosmic phenomena of darkness and light, hinting subtly at spiritual darkness and light in minds and hearts, in concepts and beliefs. The multiplicity of sensory and metaphorical darkness is contrasted with the singularity of light. And in the face of creation's testimony to the oneness of its creator, the passage denounces the polytheism practiced by the disbelievers, who ascribe equals to God, yet they create nothing, while he alone has created the heavens and the earth, and has made darkness and light. 2. The second verse shows it manifest in the creation of man from clay, in the ordaining of human lifespans on earth, and in the decree of the appointed time of resurrection known only to God. This testimony is followed by an expression of amazement at those who doubt, despite the clear evidence of creation manifest in their own selves and human existence, and in the decreeing of lifespans witnessed by all. 3. The third verse shows it manifest in God's exclusive divinity over the heavens and the earth, where he knows what is secret and what is open, knowing all deeds, both good and evil. This comprehensive and perfect knowledge is a necessary consequence of his divinity, which is singular, without rival, and without partner. 4. The fourth verse shows it manifest in the ongoing struggle between truth and falsehood, as God takes the disbelievers to account after having empowered them on earth, sending abundant rain upon them and causing rivers to flow beneath them. He subjugated for them the cosmic forces and resources, yet despite these gifts they turned away, and destruction befell them for their sins. The disbelievers are called to reflect on the fates of those who came before them, to consider the divine law governing the rise and fall of nations, and to ponder the reasons for empowerment and the causes of destruction. 5. The fifth verse shows it manifest in God's ownership alone of everything in the heavens and the earth, and in his authority to gather people for the day of judgment. His mercy is manifest in his delaying them until the appointed time, and his justice is manifest in the final reckoning. It also shows his ownership of whatever dwells in the night and the day, both animate and inanimate beings, and concludes by affirming his attributes of hearing and knowledge, attributes that are intimately connected with his ownership, sovereignty, and ultimate judgment. 6. The sixth verse shows it manifest in the conscience of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as he is commanded to declare to the polytheists that it is inconceivable for him to take any protector besides God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the sustainer of all beings, who is self-sufficient and requires no sustenance. The Prophet is instructed to announce that taking any protector besides God is forbidden, as it contradicts the command to be the first to submit to God alone and to avoid associating others with him. He is also commanded to express his fear of the punishment of a great day, and that whoever is spared from punishment on that day has truly been shown mercy, for that is the clear triumph. 7. The seventh verse shows it manifest in God's absolute control over harm and benefit. No one can remove harm or bring about good except God. He is capable of all things, and none of his servants has power over him. He is the supreme over his servants, and he is the all-wise, the all-aware. His wisdom is manifest in his decreeing of harm and good, and his knowledge is manifest in every action and every decree. 8. The eighth verse shows it manifest in the consciousness and understanding of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as he declares the absolute oneness of God in the face of polytheists who claim that there are other gods besides him. The Prophet disassociates himself from them and their idolatry, and bears witness to God against them, proclaiming that he has delivered the message of the Quran, which was revealed to him to warn them and all whom it reaches. In this declaration of monotheism, the Prophet distances himself from their polytheism and stands firm in his call to the worship of the one true God. Thus, we see how this single passage encompasses all these dimensions, revealing the truth of God's oneness and sovereignty. It exemplifies the unique Quranic style, which no human approach can match in its ability to address the entirety of the human being, engaging all aspects of the self in a single passage and confronting it with the grand reality of divine truth in all its vast and far-reaching dimensions. Nevertheless, we will attempt to highlight these diverse realms individually through various excerpts, while repeatedly reminding ourselves that these efforts cannot match the comprehensive richness of the Quranic method itself. However, they may help us trace the flow of the Quranic discourse. The reality of divinity manifests itself in the universe and in life at large as a grand exhibition of the craftsmanship that points to the Maker. The Quran appeals to the human soul with the magnificence, beauty, perfection, and harmony of the divine imprint in this observable existence. This vast, wondrous, and harmonious universe, with its heavens and earth, its sun and moon, its night and day, and all that is in the heavens and the earth, from creatures to nations, from laws to birds, animals and plants, all follow those laws. This deep, all-encompassing night, tranquil save for the soft rustle of dreams and shadows, this dawn breaking through the veils of night, like the smile of a contented newborn. This movement breathed into the morning, infusing life and creatures with vigour. These flowing shadows that the eye perceives as still though they gently move, these birds departing and returning, hopping, darting and soaring through the air, these plants always reaching toward water and life, these creatures coming and going in an endless flow of life, these wombs that give birth and graves that swallow, life continues on its path as God wills. This parade of images and shadows, scenes and forms, movements and states, departure and return, renewal and decay, this ceaseless movement in this vast, harmonious universe that never stops or slows for a moment, day or night, all of this is what transforms the Quranic method into an inspiring panorama, where the reality of divinity shines forth in such examples as we now bring forward. Verily, your sustainer is God, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, then established himself on the throne. He covers the night with the day, which follows it in haste. The sun, the moon, and the stars are subjected by his command. Behold, to him belongs the creation and the command. Blessed is God, the sustainer of all the worlds. Call upon your sustainer humbly and in secret. Indeed, he does not love the aggressors, and do not spread corruption in the land after it has been set right, but call upon him with hope and fear. Indeed, the mercy of God is near to those who do good. He it is who sends the winds as heralds of his mercy, until when they bear heavy clouds, we drive them to a dead land, and we send down water, bringing forth all manner of fruits. Thus do we raise the dead so that you may remember. Al-Araf 54:57. It is God who raised the heavens without visible pillars, then established himself on the throne. He subjected the sun and the moon, each running its course for a fixed term. He governs all affairs and explains the signs, that you may be certain of meeting your sustainer. And it is he who spread out the earth and placed firm mountains and rivers therein, and created of every kind of fruit in pairs. He covers the night with the day. Verily, in these things are signs for those who reflect. And on the earth are neighbouring tracts, vineyards and fields of grain, and date palms, some growing in clusters, others standing alone, watered by the same water. Yet we favour some of them over others in taste. Indeed, in this are signs for people who use their reason. Arad 2. 4. Have you not seen how your sustainer lengthens the shade? If he willed, he could have made it still. But we made the sun its guide, then we draw it towards us with an easy withdrawal. It is he who made the night a covering for you, and sleep for rest, and made the day a resurrection. And it is he who sends the winds as glad tidings of his mercy, and we send down pure water from the sky, so that we may revive a dead land and give drink to many of the cattle and human beings we created. Al-Furqan 45:49. Have they not looked at the sky above them, how we have built it and adorned it, leaving no gaps? And the earth? We have spread it out and placed firm mountains therein, and caused every delightful kind of plant to grow in it, as a means of insight and a reminder for every servant who turns to God. And we send down blessed water from the sky, bringing forth gardens and grain for harvest, and tall date palms laden with clustered fruit as sustenance for the servants. And with it we give life to a dead land, thus shall be the resurrection. Qaf 6:11. Thus, the reality of divinity is revealed through its traces in the universe and life, and the Quranic method presents it in this inspiring arrangement, which appeals to the innate nature of every soul, however little its knowledge of the nature of the universe and life. And as science progresses and knowledge expands, this reality becomes ever more apparent, and the scope of its vision and reflection broadens, never diminishing. In this way, the Quranic method presents the reality of divinity as it manifests in human life, in its stages, events, and experiences. It portrays it as an active, influential force in every situation and circumstance. The human heart perceives the hand of God, creating every event and directing every movement. It sees the will of God attached to every phenomenon, both hidden and apparent, in this life connected to everything in this boundless existence that man cannot fully comprehend. This reality manifests first in the original human creation, and then in the repeated human creation that is based on the principle of duality, by which human existence is renewed in a clear system of planning and management, as we shall explain in more detail when discussing the reality of life and the reality of humanity. Indeed, we created man from an extract of clay. Then we placed him as a drop of fluid in a safe lodging. Then we made the drop into a clinging clot. Then we made the clot into a lump. Then we made the lump into bones, and we clothed the bones with flesh. Then we brought him forth as another creation. So blessed is God, the best of creators. Then after that you will surely die. Then on the day of resurrection you will be raised again. Al-Mu'minun 12:16. Was it we who created you, or were you not created? Have you considered the seed you emit? Is it you who create it, or are we the creator? We have decreed death among you, and we are not to be outrun, that we may transform you and recreate you in forms unknown to you, and indeed you have already known the first creation. Why then do you not reflect? We created from it the two sexes, male and female. Is he not able to give life to the dead? Al-Qiyamah 39:40. To God belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He creates whatever he wills, he grants daughters to whomever he wills, and he grants sons to whomever he wills. Or he blesses them with both sons and daughters, and he makes barren whomever he wills. He is indeed all-knowing, all-powerful. Ashura 49:50. And it is he who created from water a human being, and made him a relationship of lineage and marriage, and your sustainer is all-powerful. Al-Furqan 54. This reality also manifests in what God has endowed this human being with qualities that distinguish him from all other creatures, even though they share the same origin of creation. His role in life requires him to have these distinguishing qualities, which testify to the planning and wisdom in creation in accordance with a will that operates through precise measures. Here we suffice with merely listing the texts and offering brief indications of their meanings, so that we may expand upon them in the following chapters in their appropriate contexts. God has created every living creature from water. Some walk on their bellies, some walk on two legs, and some walk on four. God creates whatever he wills. Indeed, God has power over all things. An-Nur 45. There is no creature on earth nor a bird that flies with its wings, but they are communities like yourselves. Al-An'am 38. The Creator of the heavens and the earth made for you mates from among yourselves, and from the cattle he made mates as well. Ashura 11. Indeed, we have honored the children of Adam, carried them on land and sea, provided them with good and pure things, and favored them above many of those whom we have created. Al-Isra 70. And when your sustainer said to the angels, I am placing a vicegerent on earth, they said, will you place upon it one who will spread corruption and shed blood, while we glorify you with praise and sanctify you? He said, I know what you do not know. And he taught Adam the names of all things. Then he presented them to the angels and said, tell me the names of these, if you are truthful. They said, Glory be to you. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Indeed, you are the all-knowing, the all-wise. He said, O Adam, inform them of their names. Al-Baqarah 30:33. The reality of divinity also manifests in God's countless blessings upon this unique being, blessings that are themselves part of his bounties. These blessings flow from the greatness and generosity of the Creator, without any recompense from human effort or gratitude. If God were to hold people accountable for their efforts and gratitude, they would receive nothing of these blessings. And if he were to hold them accountable for their ingratitude and disbelief, he would not leave a single creature on the face of the earth. But it is God's grace and generosity. At this point, the Quranic method addresses the human heart with the grandeur of the gift and favour, just as it addressed it earlier with the grandeur of creation and craftsmanship. It stirs in the human soul a sentiment of loyalty and love for God, just as it stirred awe and reverence. God's blessings are first seen in the gift of exquisite creation and beauty, and in the gift of guidance toward understanding the purpose of existence. O man, what has deceived you concerning your sustainer, the most generous, who created you, fashioned you, and perfected you? In whatever form he willed, he put you together. Al-Infitar 6:8. Indeed, we created man in the best of forms. At Tin 4 read, and your sustainer is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man what he did not know. Al-Alaq 3:5. The most merciful, who taught the Quran, created man and taught him speech. Ar-Rahman 1:4. God brought you forth from the wombs of your mothers knowing nothing, and he gave you hearing, sight and hearts, so that you may give thanks. An-Nahl 78. Likewise, God's blessings are evident in the subjugation of powers and resources, sustenance and provisions, which are endless and which humankind is incapable of counting or fully appreciating, let alone bearing or thanking for. These blessings go beyond merely fulfilling necessities and needs. They extend to the enjoyment of adornment and beauty. God it is who created the heavens and the earth, and sent down water from the sky, bringing forth fruits as provision for you. He made ships subservient to you, to sail through the sea by his command. He made rivers subservient to you. He made the sun and the moon subservient, both constantly pursuing their courses. He made the night and the day subservient to you. He gave you all that you asked of him. If you tried to count the blessings of God, you could never enumerate them. Indeed, man is most unjust and ungrateful. Ibrahim 32:34, and the earth he laid out for living creatures. In it are fruits and date palms with sheaths, and grain with husks and fragrant plants. So which of the favours of your sustainer will you deny? Ar-Rahman 10:13, and a sign for them is the dead earth. We give it life and bring forth from it grain of which they eat. And we have placed therein gardens of date palms and grapevines, and caused springs to gush forth, that they may eat of its fruit, and their hands did not make it. Will they not then give thanks? Yasin 33:35. And he created livestock for you, providing warmth, benefits, and food. You find beauty in them when you bring them home in the evening, and when you take them out to pasture in the morning, and they carry your loads to a land you could not have reached without hardship. Indeed, your sustainer is most compassionate, most merciful, and he created horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride and for adornment. And he creates what you do not know. An-Nahl 5:8. Who is it that created the heavens and the earth and sent down water from the sky, with which we caused delightful gardens to grow? You could not cause their trees to grow. Is there any God besides God? Nay, but they are a people who ascribe equals to him. An-Nahl 60. God's blessings are also evident in his mercy towards this being, in his forgiveness of his weaknesses, errors, and sins when he repents, in his grace of sending guidance and guides, in his forbearance, in not punishing him immediately for his sins and disbelief, in answering his prayers and supplications, in multiplying his good deeds and rewarding his sins with equal measure, or forgiving them altogether, or even transforming them into good deeds when his repentance is sincere and his conduct is righteous. And your sustainer is the forgiving one, full of mercy. If he were to hold them accountable for what they have earned, he would hasten their punishment. But for them is an appointed time from which they will find no escape. Al-Kahf 58. If you avoid the major sins that you are forbidden, we will forgive your minor sins and admit you to a noble place. An-Nisa 31. God wants to make things clear to you and to guide you to the ways of those before you and to accept your repentance. And God is all-knowing, all-wise. God wishes to accept your repentance, but those who follow their desires wish that you deviate greatly. God wishes to lighten your burden, for man was created weak. An-Nisa 26:28. And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to all the worlds. Al-Anbiya 107. Whoever brings a good deed will have 10 times its like, and whoever brings an evil deed will only be recompensed the like thereof, and they will not be wronged. Al-An'am 160. Except for those who repent, believe, and do righteous deeds. For them, God will replace their evil deeds with good ones. And God is ever forgiving, merciful. Al-Furqan 70 say, O my servants who have transgressed against themselves, do not despair of the mercy of God. Indeed, God forgives all sins. He is the all-forgiving, the all-merciful. Az-Zumar 53. Indeed, repentance is accepted by God from those who do evil in Jahiliyyah and repent soon thereafter. It is they to whom God will turn in forgiveness, and God is all-knowing, all-wise, An-Nisa 17, who responds to the distressed one when he calls upon him and removes the evil and makes you inheritors of the earth. Is there any God besides God? Little do you reflect. An-Naml 62. Who is it that offers God a good loan, which he will multiply for him, and for him is a generous reward? Hadid 11. We cannot fully present the myriad Quranic examples where the Quranic method reveals the reality of divinity in the domain of divine gifts and bounties. These examples are so abundant and varied that nothing short of a complete review of the Quran would suffice. The reality of divinity also manifests in the events of human life, in the rise and fall of nations according to God's law, in accordance with his decree, in the granting of power on earth and in its destruction, in the expansion of dominion and its reduction, in the giving and taking of wealth, in the expanding and restricting of sustenance, and in the granting and determining of lifespans. In all these, the divine will and planning are evident from the beginning to the end of all things. We destroyed the generations before you when they committed wrongdoing. Their messengers came to them with clear signs, but they would not believe. Thus do we recompense the guilty people. Then we made you successors on the earth after them to see how you will act. Yunus 13:14, and God presents the example of a town that was secure and at peace, its provision coming to it abundantly from every place. But it was ungrateful for God's blessings, so God made it taste hunger and fear because of what they used to do. An-Nahl 112. How many a town have we destroyed that was unjust, raising up another people after them? Al-Anbiya 11. But we gave enjoyment to these people and their forefathers until their lives became long. Do they not see that we are gradually reducing the land from its borders? Is it they who will prevail? Al-Anbiya 44. Say, O God, owner of sovereignty, you give sovereignty to whom you will, and you take sovereignty away from whom you will. You honor whom you will, and you humble whom you will. In your hand is all good. Indeed, you are over all things competent. Al-Imran 26. The reality of divinity also manifests in God's all-encompassing knowledge of human beings, in their movements and their stillness, their public and private affairs, their waking and sleeping, their lives and their deaths. In every aspect of their existence, his knowledge is all-encompassing, his planning is all-encompassing, his care is all-encompassing, and his power is all-encompassing without any challenger to his decree or partner in his dominion. Do you not see that God knows whatever is in the heavens and the earth? There is no secret conversation among three, but he is their fourth, nor among five, but he is their sixth, nor fewer than that nor more, but he is with them wherever they are. Then he will inform them of what they did on the day of resurrection. Verily, God is aware of all things. Al-Mujadila 7. And whatever situation you may find yourself in, whatever part of the Quran you may recite, and whatever deeds you may perform, we are witnesses over you when you are engaged in it. Not even the weight of an atom on earth or in the heavens escapes your sustainer, nor anything smaller or greater than that, but it is all recorded in a clear book. Yunus 61. God knows what every female bears and what the wombs decrease or increase, and with him everything is according to a fixed measure. He is the knower of the unseen and the seen, the great, the exalted. It is the same to him whether any of you conceal your speech or proclaim it, whether one hides in the night or goes forth by day. Each person has angels watching over him in succession before and behind, guarding him by God's command. Verily, God does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. And when God wills harm for a people, there is no turning it back, nor will they find besides him any protector. Arad 8:11. Your sustainer is he who drives the ships for you through the sea, so that you may seek of his bounty. Truly, he is ever merciful towards you. But when harm touches you at sea, all those you call upon vanish, except him alone. Yet when he brings you safely to shore, you turn away. Indeed, man is ever ungrateful. Do you then feel secure that he will not cause a part of the land to swallow you, or send against you a storm of stones? Then you will find no protector for yourselves. Or do you feel secure that he will not send you back to sea once again, and unleash upon you a violent storm and drown you for your ingratitude? Then you will find none to help you against us. Al-Isra 66:69. With him are the keys to the unseen, none knows them but he. And he knows whatever is on land and in the sea, not a leaf falls but he knows it, nor a grain in the darkness of the earth, nor anything fresh or dry, but it is all recorded in a clear book. It is he who takes your souls by night and knows what you have done by day. Then he raises you again to fulfill a fixed term. Then to him will be your return, and he will inform you of what you used to do. And he is the dominant over his servants, and he sends over you guardian angels until, when death comes to one of you, our messengers take his soul without fail. Then they are returned to God, their true master. Verily, to him belongs the judgment, and he is the swiftest in reckoning. Say, who rescues you from the darkness of the land and the sea, when you call upon him humbly and in secret? If you deliver us from this, we will surely be among the grateful. Say, it is God who rescues you from it and from every distress, yet you associate others with him. Say, he is able to send punishment upon you from above or from beneath your feet, or to divide you into factions and make you taste the violence of one another. See how we explain the signs so that they may understand. Al-An'am 59:65. Just as the reality of divinity manifests in human life generally, it also reveals itself more distinctly in the perpetual struggle between truth and falsehood, between the Muslim community and the forces of Jahiliyyah across the ages and generations. It is God who directs the battle, determines the outcome, and manages the entire affair from beginning to end. Even in events that seem to have apparent causes, the Quranic method removes these apparent causes to reveal behind them the hand of divine management, the decree that cannot be defied, and the will of the sovereign sustainer who governs all, whose plan prevails behind all apparent causes. Before them the people of Noah denied the truth. They rejected our servant, saying, "He is a madman," and he was rebuked. So he called upon his sustainer, saying, "I am overwhelmed, so help me." Thus we opened the gates of the sky with torrents of water, and we caused the earth to burst forth with springs, so the waters met for a matter already decreed. And we carried him on a vessel made of planks and nails, sailing under our watchful eyes, a reward for the one who had been rejected. And indeed we left it as a sign. So is there any who will remember then how terrible was my punishment and my warnings? Al-Qamar 9:16. The people of Ad also denied the truth. So, how terrible was my punishment and my warnings. Verily, we sent upon them a furious, howling wind on a day of continual misfortune, plucking people up as if they were uprooted trunks of palm trees. So how terrible was my punishment and my warnings. Al-Qamar 18:21. And the people of Talmud rejected the warnings. They said, "Shall we follow a single mortal from among us? Then we would surely be in error and madness. Has the message been sent to him out of all of us? Rather, he is an insolent liar." They will know tomorrow who is the insolent liar. Indeed, We are sending the she-camel as a test for them, so watch them and be patient. And inform them that the water is to be shared between them, each taking their turn to drink. But they called upon their companion, and he took a sword and hamstrung her. So how terrible was my punishment and my warnings! Verily we sent upon them a single cry, and they became like dry stubble used to build a cattle pen. Al-Qamar 23:31. And the people of Lot rejected the warnings. Verily, we sent a storm of stones upon them, except for the family of Lot, whom we saved at the break of dawn as a favour from us. Thus do we reward those who are grateful. And indeed he had warned them of our punishment, but they disputed the warnings. And indeed they sought to shame his guests, so we blinded their eyes, saying, Taste my punishment and my warnings, and in the morning a lasting punishment overtook them. So, taste my punishment and my warnings. Al-Qamar 33:39. They said, Burn him and support your gods if you would act. We said, O fire, be coolness and safety for Abraham. And they intended for him harm, but we made them the greatest losers. And we saved him and Lot and brought them to a land that we had blessed for all peoples. And we granted him Isaac, and as a gift Jacob, and each one we made righteous. And we made them leaders, guiding by our command. And we revealed to them the doing of good deeds, the establishment of prayer and the giving of alms. And they were devoted to us in worship. Al-Anbiya 68:73. And when our command came, we saved Shu'aib and those who believed with him by a mercy from us, and the terrible blast seized those who had wronged, and they lay lifeless in their homes as if they had never lived there. So away with Midian, just as the Tamud were done away with. Hud 94:95. And when the two hosts saw each other, the companions of Moses said, Indeed, we are overtaken. Moses said, No, indeed, my sustainer is with me. He will guide me. So we inspired Moses, Strike the sea with your staff. And it parted, and each part was like a mighty mountain. And we brought the others near, and we saved Moses and those with him all together. Then we drowned the others. Indeed, in this is a sign, but most of them were not believers. Ash-Shu'ara 61:67. And when Jesus sensed their disbelief, he said, Who will be my helpers in the cause of God? The disciples said, We are God's helpers. We believe in God and bear witness that we are Muslims. Our sustainer, we believe in what you have revealed, and we follow the messenger, so record us among those who bear witness. And they, the disbelievers, plotted, and God also plotted, and God is the best of plotters. Remember when God said, O Jesus, I will take you and raise you to myself and purify you from those who disbelieve, and I will make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve until the day of resurrection. Then to me is your return, and I will judge between you concerning that in which you used to differ. Al-Imran 52:55. If you do not support him, the prophet, then know that God has already supported him when those who disbelieved drove him out, the second of two, when they were in the cave, and he said to his companion, Do not grieve, indeed God is with us. So God sent down his tranquility upon him, and supported him with forces you did not see, and made the word of those who disbelieved the lowest, while the word of God is the highest, and God is exalted in might wise. At Tawbah 40, God indeed helped you at Badr when you were few and weak, so fear God that you may be grateful. Remember when you said to the believers, Is it not enough for you that your sustainer should reinforce you with 3,000 angels sent down? Yes, if you remain patient and conscious of God, and they come upon you suddenly, your sustainer will reinforce you with 5,000 angels, clearly marked. And God made it this victory only as a glad tiding for you and to reassure your hearts. And victory is only from God, the Almighty, the Wise. Al-Imran 123:126. Indeed, God fulfilled his promise to you when you were defeating them by his permission, until you lost courage and disputed over the command and disobeyed after he showed you what you loved. Among you are those who desire the world, and among you are those who desire the hereafter. Then he turned you back from them to test you, but he has forgiven you, and God is full of bounty to the believers. Al-Imran 152. He is the one who expelled those who disbelieved among the people of the book from their homes at the first gathering. You did not think they would go, and they thought their fortresses would protect them from God. But God came upon them from where they had not expected, and he cast terror into their hearts. So they destroyed their houses by their own hands and the hands of the believers. So take heed, O people of insight, Al-Hashr 2. God has promised you abundant spoils that you will capture, and he has hastened this victory for you and withheld the hands of people from you, so that it may be a sign for the believers and that he may guide you to a straight path. And he has promised you other gains that you have not yet been able to achieve, but God has already encompassed them, and God is over all things competent. Al-Fath 20:21. And you did not kill them, but it was God who killed them. And you did not throw when you threw, but it was God who threw, that he might test the believers with a good test. Verily God is hearing, knowing that is so, and indeed God weakens the plot of the disbelievers. Al-Anfal 17:18. And there are many other examples. Indeed, it is God's decree that brings events into existence, just as it is his will that brings all things into being. His decree directs the affairs of humanity in this life. The divine reality manifests itself in its effects in human life in its entirety and in every detail, as presented in the unique Quranic method with simplicity and clarity, with emphasis and depth, with comprehensiveness and inclusiveness. Just as the reality of divinity in the Quranic method manifests through its creative effects in the cosmos and the self, in life and history, and in the changing circumstances of people as they are subjected to the laws of God and move according to his decree in this worldly life, so too does this reality manifest on the day of judgment, when God's absolute ownership and authority will be fully revealed in that momentous day. This is one of the most expansive themes in the Quranic method, where it engages in building the correct belief in souls and consciences, establishing the correct perception in hearts and minds, and highlighting the reality of divinity in a way that intertwines feelings of hope and awe, reverence and grandeur, with feelings of intimacy and closeness, in a manner that human expression cannot fully capture. We are not here to survey the scenes of the last day in the Quran, nor to discuss the reality of the hereafter in the Islamic worldview, for that is a topic of its own. Rather, we aim to speak only of the manifestation of the reality of divinity on the Day of Judgment, and of the absolute sovereignty of God over all dominion and authority on that momentous day. And in line with the approach of this work that the Quranic texts themselves should form the core of the book's substance, expressing the subject in their own way, we will now let some of the Quranic passages themselves reveal to us the reality of divinity on the Day of Judgment. Among people are those who take false gods besides God, loving them as they should love God. But those who believe are stronger in their love for God. If only the wrongdoers could see when they will see the punishment, that all power belongs to God alone, and that God is severe in punishment. On that day, those who were followed will disown those who followed them, and they will see the punishment, and all ties between them will be cut off. And those who followed will say, if only we could have another chance, we would disown them as they have disowned us. Thus, God will show them their deeds as regrets for them, and they will never leave the fire. Al-Baqarah 165, 167. If only you could see when they are made to stand before the fire and say, oh, if only we could be sent back to life, we would not deny the signs of our sustainer, and we would be among the believers. But what became apparent to them was what they had been hiding before, and even if they were sent back, they would certainly return to what they were forbidden. Verily they are liars. And they said, there is nothing but our worldly life, and we will not be resurrected. If only you could see when they are made to stand before their sustainer. He will say, is this not the truth? They will say, yes, by our sustainer. He will say, then taste the punishment for what you used to deny. Lost indeed are those who deny the meeting with God, until when the hour comes upon them suddenly, they will say, oh, how great is our regret for what we neglected concerning it, while they bear their burdens on their backs. Evil indeed is what they bear. Al-An'am 27:31. On the day when we will gather them all together, and then we will say to those who associated others with God, stay in your place, you and your partners. Then we will separate them, and their partners will say, It was not us you worshipped. And God will be sufficient as a witness between us and you, for we were unaware of your worship. Thereupon every soul will be tested for what it had done, and they will be returned to God, their true master, and all that they fabricated will have forsaken them. Yunus 28:30. They did not esteem God as he truly should be esteemed. The whole earth will be in his grip on the day of resurrection, and the heavens will be rolled up in his right hand. Exalted is he above what they associate with him. The trumpet will be blown, and all who are in the heavens and the earth will fall dead, except those whom God wills. Then it will be blown again, and behold, they will be standing, looking on, and the earth will shine with the light of its sustainer, and the record of deeds will be placed, and the prophets and the witnesses will be brought, and judgment will be made between them in truth, and they will not be wronged. And every soul will be recompensed for what it had done, and he is most knowing of what they do. And those who disbelieved will be driven to hell in crowds, until when they reach it, its gates will be opened, and its keepers will say, "Did there not come to you messengers from among yourselves, reciting to you the signs of your sustainer, and warning you of the meeting of this day of yours?" They will say, "Yes, but the decree of punishment has come to pass upon the disbelievers." It will be said, "Enter the gates of hell to abide therein eternally, and wretched is the abode of the arrogant." But those who feared their sustainer will be driven to paradise in crowds, until when they reach it, its gates will be opened, and its keepers will say to them, "Peace be upon you. You have done well, so enter it to abide eternally." And they will say, "Praise be to God, who has fulfilled his promise to us and has made us inherit the land, so we may settle in paradise wherever we will." How excellent is the reward of those who work righteously. And you will see the angels surrounding the throne, glorifying the praise of their sustainer. And judgment will be made between them in truth, and it will be said, "Praise be to God, sustainer of all the worlds," as Zumar 67:75. So call upon God, devoting your religion sincerely to him, even though the disbelievers may dislike it. Exalted in rank, possessor of the throne, he casts the Spirit by his command upon whomever he wills of his servants, to warn of the day of meeting, the day when they will come forth, nothing about them being hidden from God, to whom belongs all sovereignty this day, to God the One, the Overpowering. This day every soul will be recompensed for what it earned. No injustice today. Verily, God is swift in reckoning. Ghafir 14:17. And within this there is sufficient for reflection. Finally, we come to the magnificent scene where the reality of divinity manifests itself in the hearts of God's chosen servants, the angels, the prophets, the truthful ones, the martyrs, and the righteous. It is the most awe-inspiring manifestation of this reality, as it shines forth in the pure hearts of God's chosen ones. It is revealed in the divine touch to the hearts of these friends of God, and in their response to this touch, hearts purified from all traces of polytheism. It is revealed in their illuminated understanding of their sustainer, in their awareness of his reality, in their sense of his majesty and awe, yet also in their sense of his nearness and love. And this is expressed in the most sublime manner as recounted about them in the Quran. Never have I gazed upon this reality in all of existence as I have gazed upon it in the hearts of these select ones among God's servants. It is a reality that reveals itself in all its splendor, in the beauty of its brilliance, in the grandeur of feeling it, and in the magnificence of expressing it. It is fitting that we allow the Quranic context itself to express these profound meanings, and that we pause to observe how this reality manifests itself in the hearts of the parents of humankind, Adam and his wife after their trial, after their forgetfulness and their sin. O Adam, dwell you and your wife in paradise and eat from wherever you wish, but do not approach this tree, lest you become among the wrongdoers. But Satan whispered to them to reveal to them what was hidden of their nakedness, saying, "Your sustainer has only forbidden this tree to you, lest you become angels or become of the immortal." And he swore to them, "Indeed, I am a sincere adviser to you." So he led them on through deception. And when they tasted of the tree, their nakedness was exposed to them, and they began to fasten together over themselves from the leaves of paradise. And their sustainer called out to them, "Did I not forbid you from that tree, and tell you that Satan is to you a clear enemy?" They said, "Our sustainer, we have wronged ourselves, and if you do not forgive us and have mercy upon us, we will surely be among the losers." Al-Araf 19:23. It is the complete return to their sustainer, the admission of having wronged themselves by disobeying his command, and the realization of the loss in departing from his obedience. It is the certainty that there is no refuge from him except in his mercy, no salvation from the wrong they have done to themselves except through his forgiveness, and the surrender that comes from a clear understanding and deep conviction in the reality of divinity, that there is no escape from him except to him. We pause again to observe this reality as it manifests in the soul of Noah, peace be upon him, in his call to his people. "Worship none but God. Verily I fear for you the punishment of a painful day." At 25. His people denied that he was sent, and they scorned those who believed with him, challenging him to bring the punishment he warned them of. But Noah, peace be upon him, responded to their denial and scorn with the reality that was revealed in his heart about his mighty sustainer, with fear of him, reliance upon him, and a complete detachment from all claims, leaving the matter entirely to God, trusting in him and taking refuge in his sovereignty. He said, "O my people, have you considered if I should be upon clear evidence from my sustainer, and he has given me mercy from himself, but it has been made obscure to you? Should we force it upon you while you are averse to it? And, O my people, I do not ask you for wealth in return. My reward is only from God. And I am not one to drive away those who believe. Indeed, they will meet their sustainer. But I see you as a people who are ignorant. And, O my people, who would protect me from God if I drove them away? Then will you not take heed? And I do not say to you that I possess the treasures of God, nor do I know the unseen, nor do I say that I am an angel. Nor do I say of those whom your eyes look down upon, God will never grant them any good. God knows best what is within their souls. If I were to say such a thing, then I would surely be one of the wrongdoers. They said, "O Noah, you have disputed with us, and you have prolonged your argument, so bring us what you threaten us with, if you are indeed truthful." He said, "God will bring it to you, if he so wills, and you will not be able to escape it. My advice will not benefit you, even if I wish to advise you, if God intends to lead you astray. He is your sustainer, and to him you shall return." Hud 28:34. Then, challenging his people to gather all their forces and confront him alone, though he was with his sustainer, with the strength of one who is certain, and with the tranquility of one who has arrived at the truth, he said, "And recite unto them the story of Noah, when he said to his people, O my people, if my presence and my reminding you of the signs of God have become too much for you to bear, then I place my trust in God. So gather together all your plans, and call upon your partners whom you associate with God, and let not your plan be unclear to you. Then carry out your plan against me, and give me no respite. But if you turn away, then know that I have not asked you for any reward. My reward is only with God, and I have been commanded to be among those who submit to him." Yunus 71:72. And so he turns to the Almighty, knowing that he is mighty and exalted in power, and there, in the solitude of his soul, he cries to his sustainer, saying, "I am overpowered, so help me," trusting that he alone will come to his aid, knowing with certainty that his prayer will be answered. The people of Noah before them denied the truth, and they rejected our servant, saying, "He is mad," and he was rebuked. So he cried out to his sustainer, "Verily, I am overpowered, so help me." Then we opened the gates of heaven with pouring rain, and we caused the earth to burst forth with springs, so that the waters met for a matter already ordained. And we carried him on a vessel made of planks and nails, flowing under our watchful eyes, a reward for him who had been rejected. Al-Qamar 9:14, and there he was, calling out to his son as the flood surged around them, trying to convey to his disbelieving heart the truth he knew from his sustainer, and it sailed with them amidst waves like mountains. And Noah called out to his son who stood apart, "O my son, embark with us, and do not be with the disbelievers." But his son said, I will take refuge on a mountain that will protect me from the water." Noah replied, "Today there is no protection from God's decree except for those upon whom he has mercy." And the waves came between them, and he was among the drowned, at 43:47. Then, as he sought to claim his sustainer''s promise that his family would be saved, thinking that his son was included in that promise, he learned how his sustainer would instruct him in this matter with trembling submission and repentance. And Noah called out to his sustainer, saying, "My sustainer, indeed my son is of my family, and your promise is true, and you are the most just of judges." God said, "O Noah, he is not of your family. Indeed, he is a person of unrighteous conduct. So do not ask of me that of which you have no knowledge. I admonish you, lest you be one of the ignorant." Noah said, "My sustainer, I seek refuge in you from asking that of which I have no knowledge. And unless you forgive me and have mercy upon me, I will be among the losers." At 45:47. And here we pause briefly with Hud, as he calls his people to the great truth that he found within himself, telling them of its effects in their lives and in the cosmos around them. In the end, he challenges them with the quiet confidence of one who is certain, standing alone in the face of their combined strength, but he is never alone with his sustainer. And to add, we sent their brother Hud. He said, "O my people, worship God. You have no deity other than him. You are but inventors of falsehood. O my people, I do not ask of you any reward for this. My reward is only with the one who created me. Will you not then reason? And O my people, seek forgiveness from your sustainer, and then repent to him. He will send rain from the sky upon you in abundance, and he will add strength to your strength. So do not turn away as criminals." They said, "O Hud, you have not brought us any evidence, and we are not going to leave our gods on your word, nor are we believers in you. We only say that some of our gods have afflicted you with evil." He said, "Indeed, I call God to witness, and you too bear witness that I am free from whatever you associate with him besides him. So plot against me altogether, then do not give me respite. Indeed, I have placed my trust in God, my sustainer and your sustainer. There is no creature but that he holds its forelock. Indeed, my sustainer is on a straight path. But if you turn away, I have already conveyed to you what I was sent to you with, and my sustainer will replace you with another people, and you cannot harm him in the least. Indeed, my sustainer is guardian over all things." Hud 50:57. And now we pause with Salih too, to witness the tranquility of his heart in the face of his sustainer's signs, and how he introduces his people to what he knows of God's omnipotence, while fearing him even in his closeness to him. And to Thamud we sent their brother Salih. He said, "O my people, worship God, you have no deity other than him. He brought you forth from the earth and settled you in it, so seek his forgiveness and then repent to him. Indeed, my sustainer is near and responsive." They said, "O Salih, you were one of us in whom we had great hope before this. Do you forbid us to worship what our forefathers worshipped? And indeed we are in doubt about that to which you invite us." He said, "O my people, tell me if I am upon clear evidence from my sustainer, and he has given me mercy from himself, who could protect me from God if I were to disobey him. So you would not increase me except in loss." Hud 91:93. And Shu'aib too stood among his people, calling them to the knowledge of his sustainer's oneness, might, mercy, and love. But they threatened to kill him, except for the respect they had for his clan. Yet Shu'aib found no comfort in the fact that his people feared his clan. He would have preferred that they feared his sustainer, that they recognized God's might and honored him as he deserves. In his heart, his sustainer was mightier and dearer to him than his clan and his kin. And to the people of Midian we sent their brother Shu'aib. He said, "O my people, worship God. You have no deity other than him. Do not reduce the measure and the balance. Indeed, I see you in prosperity, but I fear for you the punishment of an encompassing day. O my people, give full measure and weight in justice, and do not deprive people of their due, and do not commit abuse on the earth, spreading corruption. What remains lawful from God is best for you if you should be believers, and I am not a guardian over you." They said, "O Shu'aib, Does your prayer command you that we should leave what our forefathers worshipped, or that we should not do with our wealth what we please? Indeed, you are the forbearing, the right-minded. He said, O my people, tell me if I am upon clear evidence from my sustainer, and he has provided me with good provision from himself. How could I disobey him? I do not intend to differ from you in that which I have forbidden you. I only intend reform as much as I am able. And my success is not but through God. Upon him I have relied, and to him I turn. And O my people, let not your dissension from me cause you to be struck by that which struck the people of Noah, or the people of Hud, or the people of Salih. And the people of Lot are not far from you. And seek forgiveness from your sustainer, and repent to him. Indeed, my sustainer is merciful and loving. They said, O Shu'aib, we do not understand much of what you say, and we see you as weak among us. Were it not for your clan, we would have stoned you, and you are not dear to us. He said, O my people, is my clan more esteemed by you than God? And you have taken him behind your backs in neglect. Indeed, my sustainer is encompassing of what you do. And O my people, act according to your position. Indeed, I am acting. You will come to know to whom will come a punishment that will disgrace him and who is a liar. So watch. Indeed, I am with you, watching. Hud 84:93. And now we turn to Abraham, peace be upon him, and the many encounters he had with his sustainer, where the truth shone through in a way that was both wondrous and magnificent. We cannot recount them all here, but let us suffice with a few glimpses. The first of these is the moment when the truth of his sustainer dawned upon him for the first time, after long searching and questioning. And then, in his heart, he found the direct touch of divine guidance, the merciful hand reaching out to him. When he saw the sun rising, he said, This is my sustainer, this is greater. But when it set, he said, O my people, I am free from what you associate with God. Indeed, I have turned my face toward the one who created the heavens and the earth, inclining toward truth. And I am not of those who associate others with him. And his people argued with him. He said, Do you argue with me concerning God while he has guided me? And I do not fear what you associate with him, unless my sustainer wills something. My sustainer encompasses all things in knowledge. Will you not then take heed? And how should I fear what you associate with him, while you do not fear that you have associated with God that for which he has not sent down any authority? So which of the two parties is more deserving of security, if you should know? Al-An'am 78:81. Then we see him yearning after having found his sustainer within his heart and in the world around him, to witness God's power at work in the process of creation, to see with his own eyes how the divine will operates in the visible realm so that his heart might be at peace. And remember when Abraham said, My sustainer, show me how you give life to the dead. God said, Do you not believe? Abraham said, Yes, but I ask only so that my heart may be at ease. God said, Take 4 birds and train them to come to you, then place on each hill a part of them, then call them, and they will come to you in haste. And know that God is exalted in might and wise. So Abraham did as he was commanded, and his heart was at peace, witnessing the divine will in action, unfolding before his very eyes. Al-Baqarah 260. And we see him standing before his father and his people, proclaiming the truth of what they were worshipping and the truth of his sustainer, which he found in his heart and in the creation around him, where this truth shone through in its purest, most beautiful form, and recite to them the story of Abraham, when he said to his father and his people, What is it that you worship? They said, We worship idols, and we remain devoted to them. He said, Do they hear you when you call, or do they benefit or harm you? They said, No, but we found our forefathers doing so. He said, Then have you considered what you have been worshipping, you and your forefathers? They are enemies to me except for the sustainer of the worlds who created me, and he alone guides me. And it is he who feeds me and gives me drink. And when I am ill, it is he who cures me. And it is he who will cause me to die and then bring me to life. And it is he whom I hope will forgive me my faults on the day of judgment. My sustainer, grant me wisdom and join me with the righteous, and grant me a reputation of honor among later generations, and place me among the inheritors of the garden of bliss. And forgive my father, for indeed he was among those astray. And do not disgrace me on the day they are resurrected, the day when neither wealth nor children will benefit anyone except one who comes to God with a sound heart. Ash-Shu'ara 69:89. Then we see him standing before the king to teach him to whom truly belongs the dominion and authority, and to declare that sovereignty over human affairs belongs only to the one who holds dominion over the cosmos and governs it by his will. And here we witness the reality of God's oneness in the heart of Abraham. Have you not considered the one who argued with Abraham about his sustainer merely because God had given him kingship? When Abraham said, "My sustainer is the one who gives life and causes death," the king said, "I give life and cause death." Abraham said, "Indeed, God brings the sun from the east, so bring it from the west." And the disbeliever was confounded, and God does not guide the wrongdoing people. Al-Baqarah 258. Next, we turn to the scene where Abraham bids farewell to his beloved son near the sacred house of God, entrusting him to his sustainer's care and addressing his sustainer with these heartfelt words. "And remember when Abraham said, 'My sustainer, make this city Mecca secure, and keep me and my sons away from worshipping idols. My sustainer, indeed they have led astray many among the people. So whoever follows me, then he is of me. And whoever disobeys me, indeed you are forgiving and merciful. Our sustainer, I have settled some of my descendants in an uncultivated valley near your sacred house, our sustainer, that they may establish prayer. So make hearts among the people inclined toward them, and provide for them from the fruits that they might be grateful. Our sustainer, indeed you know what we conceal and what we declare, and nothing is hidden from God on the earth or in the heavens. Praise be to God who has granted me, in my old age, Ishmael and Isaac. Indeed, my sustainer is the hearer of supplication. My sustainer, make me an establisher of prayer and many from my descendants. Our sustainer, and accept my supplication. Our sustainer, forgive me and my parents and the believers on the day the account is established. Ibrahim 35:41. Finally, we witness Abraham and Ishmael in that unparalleled moment when the truth of God's oneness shines with brilliant clarity in their hearts, so that nothing remains but this truth, and no other reality manifests except its radiance. We stand with Abraham as he proclaims the word of truth before his father, his people, and their king. He had shattered their idols, and they had resolved to kill him by casting him into the fire, but God saved him. Then he emigrated from them, alone and a stranger, until his sustainer comforted him with a son of great forbearance. And when he had grown attached to him, and the boy had reached the age of helping his father, his sustainer appeared to him in a vision, asking him to sacrifice his son. And here the truth shone forth in the heart of Abraham, peace be upon him, with its sublime and awe-inspiring beauty, and it shone just as brightly in the heart of Ishmael. And indeed among his kind was Abraham, when he came to his sustainer with a sound heart, when he said to his father and his people, "What is it that you worship? Is it false gods you desire instead of God? Then what is your thought about the sustainer of the worlds?" And he cast a glance at the stars and said, "Indeed I am ill." So they turned away from him, departing. Then he went to their idols and said, "Do you not eat? What is wrong with you that you do not speak?" Then he turned upon them and struck them with his right hand. Then they advanced toward him, hastening. Abraham said, "Do you worship that which you carve, while God created you and that which you do?" They said, "Construct for him a furnace and throw him into the blazing fire." And they intended for him a plan, but we made them the lowest. And Abraham said, "Indeed, I will go to where I am commanded by my sustainer. He will guide me. My sustainer, grant me a child from among the righteous." So we gave him good tidings of a forbearing boy. And when the boy was old enough to assist him, he said, "O my son, indeed, I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you, so see what you think." He said, "O my father, do as you are commanded. You will find me, if God wills, of the steadfast." And when they had both submitted to the will of God, and he laid him down upon his forehead, we called to him, "O Abraham, you have fulfilled the vision. Indeed, we thus reward the doers of good." Indeed, this was the clear trial. And we ransomed him with a great sacrifice, and we left for him favorable mention among later generations. Peace be upon Abraham. Indeed, we thus reward the doers of good. Indeed, he was of our believing servants, as Safat 83, 111. And so we conclude these glimpses into the life of Abraham with his sustainer, the truth of God's oneness shining brightly in his heart. We conclude with the scene of Abraham and Ishmael together, raising the foundations of the sacred house and calling upon their sustainer with this profound supplication. And remember when Abraham and Ishmael were raising the foundations of the house, saying, "Our sustainer, accept this from us. Indeed, you are the hearing, the knowing, our sustainer, and make us both submissive to you, and raise from our descendants a community submissive to you, and show us our rights and accept our repentance. Indeed, you are the accepting of repentance, the merciful, our sustainer, and send among them a messenger from themselves who will recite to them your verses and teach them the book and wisdom and purify them. Indeed, you are the exalted in might, the wise. Al-Baqarah 127, 129.